Hi, I'm Andy Ringer. I serve as the Chief of Neurosciences here at TriHealth, and I'm a neurosurgeon from the Mayfield Clinic. One of my roles here at TriHealth is to work with the stroke program, which we feel is one of the most robust in the tri-state areas. TriHealth has numerous certified stroke centers throughout the tri-state area and provides emergency interventional services at two of its flagship hospitals, Good Samaritan and Bethesda North. This is one of the parts of the partnership for Mayfield and TriHealth that is very important to the community. By providing these emergency services, we can help those who suffer a stroke to recover as quickly and as completely as possible. However, there are a lot of things that you, as a stroke survivor, can do as well. It's very important to follow up with your physician after a stroke to ensure that we understand why it happened and what can be done to help prevent it. It's also important to follow up with your physiatrist and your therapist to understand what you can do to help rehabilitate and regain as much function as possible. A lot of focus is given to physical and occupational therapy as well as speech and language services. But there are several things that are just plain practical that you have to relearn again after a stroke. Take, for example, cooking in the kitchen. TriHealth, as part of our dedication to our stroke patients, has helped to put together a course to help the victims of stroke relearn some of these life habits and life skills all over again. The Teaching Kitchen at Western Ridge Hospital is one of the examples of this dedication. Amy Graham, the stroke director for our stroke program system-wide, and her team have worked diligently there to put together a course helping people relearn the skills they need to be safe and effective in the kitchen and other aspects of their daily living. So please enjoy this educational video that's put together by Amy and her team for all of our stroke victims and their families. We hope it helps.
Hello everyone, my name is Amy Graham and I am the System Stroke Manager for the TriHealth Hospitals. I'd like to welcome you all to our cooking demonstration focusing on stroke survivors navigating the kitchen meal preparation after going home from the hospital. Even though we are discussing the stroke population, this demonstration can also apply to anyone in need of adaptations for upper extremity injuries or disabilities as well. Today we are broadcasting from the Good Samaritan Western Ridge campus on Harrison Avenue. This campus has been here for the past 10 years, and Good Sam Western Ridge is one of our many stroke certified hospitals within the TriHealth network. Also available at Good Samaritan Hospital is our PROS program if you do have a stroke. PROS stands for Physical Rehabilitation Outpatient Services. This is a comprehensive treatment option for patients requiring more than one service on an outpatient basis. Our team is composed of physical and occupational therapists, speech pathologists, audiology, psychology, and aquatic therapy programs. They work to create a comprehensive, individualized course of therapy to maximize the patient's level of independence after a multitude of neurological conditions. So let's get started. After a stroke, navigating the kitchen can be challenging in a multitude of ways. When patients first go home through, the thought of being in the kitchen is very overwhelming. And it can be frustrating because their mobility might be limited from their hands and arms. Over the next 20 minutes, our occupational therapist, Lisa Saunders, will be showing us modifications and tools for stroke survivors to use in the kitchen to help them with meal preparation at home. And our dietitian, Diane Dew, will also provide a recipe for heart-healthy cooking with tips and nutrition information in stroke prevention. Again, this will be done in our new advanced teaching kitchen that was added in the expansion at Western Ridge campus back in November of 2020, which tripled the size of the campus to provide more physicians and services to this region. With primary care physicians, there are also 20 specialty physicians available to provide healthcare services. This is also in conjunction with our ancillary services such as X-ray, CAT scan, mammography, lab services, and of course our 24-hour emergency department. With that, I would like to introduce our occupational therapist, Lisa Saunders. Could you describe what an occupational therapist does with stroke patients and how the modifications in the kitchen can work for our patients?
Sure. I'm Lisa Saunders. I've been an occupational therapist for 28 years and at Good Sam for 24. There are lots of tools that are available on the market, and I usually recommend to my patients that they jump on whatever their favorite site is to search the internet and either look for one-handed cooking utensils or gadgets or adaptive kitchen gadgets. And thousands of things will come up to give you some ideas of what's out there, and then you can kind of make your own decisions. We have some at our department that I can point out to you as probably are some of the most important ones that I see people actually like. The cutting board, which has 2 prongs that you can actually stab something with to hold. It also has corner pieces that you can butter bread towards or make a sandwich towards, or even funnel something into it to cut, like chicken like we're doing today, or even steak and meat. Okay, there are one-handed scissors, which come in a variety of different versions, but they can also, because they're one-handed, be used in either hand that you still have working, and that way you're not kind of limited to the traditional right-handed scissors. The scissors are great for opening packages. They're great for cutting vegetables. They're great for anything, potato chips bags, not that we're recommending you eat potato chips, but every now and then there's a need to. They're definitely come in handy, and I have some in my kitchen at home. There are a variety of different spreading tools, cutting tools, things that you can rock to cut, or things that are a bit wider so that you're not as limited in the blade, not getting enough of what you're trying to spread on it. So there are knives, there are plate guards that you can snap onto your plate. Here's one version, and this is another one, and it just snaps onto a regular plate. And then you can actually put your food up against that plate guard or whatever you're cooking to help you get it into another surface, but it prevents everything from going all over the floor. There's commercial devices like a one-handed can opener, which is readily available at our local Walmart, Kmart. I guess Kmart's not open anymore, is it? And then little things like vegetable choppers that probably anybody who's gone to one of those cooking demonstration parties has one at their home, and it's the type that either you knock on the top of it and it cuts, or this one is electric and you hit the button. There are a lot of things that we have. I actually like using a garden glove in my kitchen to help to open containers. I've gotten to the age where my fingers sometimes don't grab on as close as I can, as I might like to. And a glove actually helps, especially if the object is held up against something else that's sticky. So gloves can come in handy. And then any of your local therapists can have, these are foam rolls that can just build up the grip on any regular utensil that you might have at home to make it easier to hold on to. And then lovely Dicem, which is an OT's ace in the hole, so to speak, as far as holding things still when you're trying to cook.
And now I'd like to present to you Diane Dew. She is a dietitian with our Tri-Health Hospitals, and she is going to go over a recipe and giving some healthy cooking tips.
Well, thank you very much. I'm Diane Dew. I'm a registered licensed dietitian and been with Tri-Health for quite a bit now and do a lot of community education and things like that. And today we're going to make a sheet pan dinner. So what I wanted to talk to you about, I've got a lot of items spread out here on the table. So Lisa and I are going to kind of work back and forth at opening packages, cutting fruits, vegetables, etc., so that you can make this meal at home. Now, this recipe will also be included at the conclusion of the presentation. So I wanted to start off with pans. So first, I'd like to suggest to you that you get smaller pans. We all start out with these big pans in the kitchen that are heavy, and then once you put food on, it's going to get even harder. So start out with a smaller pan. This is really small. This is the next size up. This is the size I'm going to use today, and I've already lined my pan. The second thing I'd like to say is that sometimes cleanup is difficult. So I have here parchment sheets that you can buy in the store that just open up and you can line them inside your pan, and that makes cleanup much easier so that you're not having to scrub so much in the pan. Or you can get aluminum foil liners, and I've just put 2 liners in this pan, and this is what we're going to use for our sheet pan meal. Now, the sheet pan meal, you can put anything in here that you want. Being a dietitian, I'm going to recommend some kind of protein, vegetable, a starch, and a fruit. You can put anything in that you'd like to mix or match any kind of meat or whatnot. So we've got our pan set. The first thing, a nutrition tip that I do want to say is I want you to think about the oil that you're using. So make sure you look in your kitchen, being post-stroke, that you're looking at using a healthy oil. So this happens to be olive oil, one of the healthiest. You could also use canola oil. And then I'd like to suggest that you put it in a dispenser jar like this, because then you can just easily spread that on the bottom of your pan and you're all set to go. You don't need anything else for that oil. And then the next thing we're going to put on here would be the chicken. So what Lisa and I wanted to do is I purchased a package of chicken at the grocery store. So we wanted to talk about, once you purchase that, how are you going to open that up at home using these utensils? So Lisa's going to go ahead and has started to open that up.
So one of the things that I spoke of on earlier is Dicem. And Dicem is a commercial product that is tacky to the touch, and it keeps things from sliding around on surfaces. You can buy it in rolls, or you can get it in the size of like a placemat, or even bigger if you wanted. The nice thing about Dicem is when you put something on it, it won't slide. So that person who's using one hand to be able to prepare or to start to open packages isn't going to chase it around the table. So basically, if you use one of the either hand scissors that we have, you can slice the top of it without any problem. Turn it back.
Beautiful.
And then, yep. How many would you like?
Half of them is fine.
Okay. You want them all
These
together?
are just chicken tenderloins. So these are partial breasts that were cut up. They're a little bit easier to navigate from a handling perspective and then a cutting perspective once they're done. So you could put however many you want to on your platter. We're just going to put these 4 on here to start off with.
I would think with grandparents too, if they have their grandkids over and chicken tenderloins, a little
Yes.
easier for them and for kids, their
Yes.
grandkids.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So we start out with our protein on there, and then next I'm just going to put some potatoes. So I like to suggest at the grocery store you can buy these small potatoes. You can also buy tricolor potatoes that have the red, the white, and the purple. And I really like to suggest those. But these smaller potatoes are a lot easier to handle, and you could either put the potato on whole, or you could cut them up as we've demonstrated already. So we did cut a few of these up ahead of time. So I'm just going to go ahead and layer those next in the center of the platter here. And then again, as Lisa said, you've got the 2 posts here. And so you could just put a potato down on the post and use your rocker knife just back and forth just to cut that potato into pieces. And you could do that with any kind of vegetable or fruit that you wanted to. So we'll put all of those on our platter. And then I picked up an assortment of vegetables. So this was just a bag of lettuce, of different mixed vegetables. So you could use the knife once again and cut that open. They're already in small pieces, and you could just dump that on your platter. The other thing you could do, I bought tricolor baby potatoes, or carrots, excuse me, so you could do the same thing. So I was looking for items that were already small, that didn't require a lot of cutting or prepping, but that you were buying in the fresh state. Then one of the things to consider is the salad bar. So these are just some sun-dried tomatoes from the salad bar. And a salad bar is a great place to buy some of your fruits and vegetables. They're already cut up and they're ready to go. So I love things with color. So that's nutrition tip number 2 for post-stroke is number 1, having a healthy oil. Number 2, thinking about using all different foods of color. So this platter is very colorful when you're finished. So I do have some fresh kale here, and what I'd like to suggest is that I've left the bottom on the tie on the kale, and then it just exposes the leaves at the top. So then what you can do is that it's easier to handle. That kale's not jumping all around on you. Again, you would lay that on your board, and you could just rock back and forth and just cut some of those kale leaves off. Now, I've already washed all of this, so this was already prepped ahead of time, but again, I just rinsed that in the sink, and then I'm just gonna put some kale here on my platter. Again, we're really trying to just develop a very colorful platter. As a dietitian, I get asked a lot about frozen vegetables and canned vegetables, and are they good? Yes, any vegetable, any fruit that you will eat is good, whatever form it's coming to you in. So sometimes you just buy some frozen vegetables at the store. So I'm gonna have Lisa cut that bag open, and I'm gonna add some frozen peas to my pan here. So you can use any kind of frozen vegetables you can find in the grocery store. Again, we're looking for convenience and things that are easy to open and use.
Ha. Failure. Not doing the.
Sometimes the plastic can be a little
Yes.
Sometimes the
difficult.
plastic.
And this bag sat out just a little bit, so sometimes it does change the nature of that.
There you
So
go.
we'll put a few peas on there. And then, yep, we're just putting it all straight on here. We're gonna season it in just a minute. And then the last thing, we've got some butternut squash. So at the grocery store, I was just looking for things that were in the markdown section or things that looked like they would be easy to use and open up. So again, Lisa, if you'd open up that package for us.
So I'm going to use the Dyson again. One of the other tricks I like to teach people is actually a wet wash cloth or a dish rag in under anything will also give you a little bit of tackiness, and that's something that we all have in our homes. But again, you just hold it down and then rip the side.
Thank you. Now, I am going to use the same set of utensils because I'm going to cook this meal. Normally, we wouldn't use the same utensil for chicken and for vegetable, but I'm going to put all of these on here and just kind of round this out here. I might scoot a little bit up here on the front end of the chicken. And it's all getting baked in the kitchen, so it's all food safe. So again, you look at the colors that you have in front of you. So the last thing that I wanted to add is a piece of fruit. So I bought an apple here, and then this is just a peeler core slicer, and it'll take your core right out of the center. And then you can just layer your apples around the sides. So you have your fruits, your vegetables, it's quite colorful, and it's about ready to go. And then what I like to do is add just a little bit more olive oil to help keep this moist while it's in the oven. So again, I'm just going to drizzle some olive oil along the top. And then we don't want to forget about our spices. So I have a variety of spices sitting up here. One of the things I like to suggest, Mrs. Dash has a wonderful line of spices. So as a post-stroke person, you want to minimize the salt. So that's going to be nutrition tip number 3. The first tip was low fat. The second tip was eat a variety of colors. And the third tip then is to minimize how much salt you have. So with Mrs. Dash, this is just a general Southwest Chipotle seasoning. And so I'm just going to spread a little bit over here. And I like to season everything, my vegetables and my fruits. So just going to sprinkle that over. And our dish is about ready to go in the oven. A few other suggestions. This is a roasted vegetables of spice that comes just that way. You could mix up your own spices and put them in a spice jar and have them ready to go so that you weren't purchasing something already, but this would minimize the salt content in your diet. I have here also basil, so you can just buy that in the store, and that works out quite well. This is a chili lime rub. You could use any seasoning that you want that would make this a flavorful meal. And then the last component that I wanted to add was just a whole grain item. So I picked up some pita bread, and pita bread is wonderful. It comes together like this, and I just broke this piece in half, and then pita bread makes a great pocket sandwich. So if you want to have chicken salad or egg salad or anything like that, tuck it down in here, and you've got a sandwich ready to go, and it's not gonna all slip out of the bottom. But to also use this, I have some garlic paste here, and I'd like to suggest to you that you just spread a little bit of garlic paste on the top of here, and then put this on the corner of your platter so that you've got a little bit of garlic bread with your meal. And your one tray here is ready to go in the oven, 425 degrees, and you'll want to cook that for about 20 to 25 minutes. And it's important that your items are about the same size. If your meat is too large, it's going to take longer for the meat to cook, and your vegetables and fruit might get a little bit overcooked. So kind of think about the size of all that. But then when you're done, you've got a whole meal on a tray, and it's ready to come out of the oven in a half an hour or less. Have we missed any of the other devices here that we wanted to talk about?
No, the only thing I can think of is a lot of times people forget that you can use one hand to open containers. Basically, just like you would with a pill, you just give it a little push and a twist. The Dyson is good and under it. A wet wash rag or a dish rag will do good. But also anything that you have to open like that. One thing that's been a challenge that we've all discussed as a department is trying to get the plastic off of these lovely salad dressing or dressing containers. The scissors can do it. It just takes a little bit of practice to do it. We definitely don't want people trying to chop at it with a knife or cut themselves. So lots of times what I advise my patients to do is to have an area on their counter where they put all of the things that they can't get open themselves, so that when somebody comes to visit or pops in, they can just pop all of those things open. They go in the fridge, and then the patient isn't limited with what they can use just because they can't open it themselves. So that's just a little out-of-the-box idea.
That's a great suggestion. And then the last item that I did have was I brought just an Instant Pot to show. And sometimes these are just great for a meal in a pot. So the liner just comes out. You could buy a couple extra liners after you cook your meal. It's got a slow cooker setting, or you could cook it quick, thus the Instant Pot name. This can go right in the refrigerator, and you have just a one-pot meal ready to go where you don't have to do multiple steps. It's in there. And this can also saute. So when it sautés, everything's in the bottom. It's all captive. You can just use a spoon or a spatula with one hand to stir that, and you don't have quite so many issues with things wanting to jump out.
I think they do sell liners just like the foil.
Yes, they do. Thank you. They do sell plastic liners you can put in there that, again, would make cleanup easy.
A lot easy.
This has been so educational. Thank you all today for this. With the tools and the modifications that we've done for our stroke survivors, the recipe in the video will be posted on the dailyhealthwire.com and our other TriHealth outlets. If you have someone that you know that would be interested in this information, please let them know. We'd also like to refer you to our stroke support group that we have at the TriHealth Rehab Hospital, which occurs every second Wednesday of each month from 6 to 7:30 p.m. And if you'd like to see a dietitian after being discharged from the hospital for more nutrition information, we will have that posted on your screen. If you'd like more information on cardiovascular health, stroke, recipes, or cookbooks, please go to the American Heart Association website at www.heart.org or www.stroke.org. We'd like to thank you for joining us today, and we wish you all good health, and thank you, everyone.